So, namaskaram to all, and we will start one more session in our journey together in understanding the clinical methods in Ayurveda. And I am very sorry that we couldn't make it in our last session, in last day, that means Wednesday. Anyway, we will continue without wasting much time. So, in our we are discussing about the Vyadhi Sangaram and all those things. Initially, we will start with our regular prayers. Chadurmukha Samarambham Vagbhadacharya Madhyamam Asmad Acharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam Ragadirogan Sadatanushaktan Sheshakaya Prasradana Sheshan Aulsukyamoha Aradidan Jaghana Yopurva Vaidyaya Namostu Tasmai. So, we discussed something about the Nidanarthakara Vyadhis in our previous session. And after explaining the complex possibilities of Upadrava, then Nidanarthakara Vyadhi, etc., Charaka makes an important observation. We just went through that observation in our last session, but that is not enough. Charaka observes, what is that? Evam Krichratamaha Mrunam Drishyante Vyadhi Sangaraha. Evam, so multiple possibilities were discussed. Evam, thus, or in that way, Krichratamaha Nrunam Drishyante Vyadhi Sangaraha. Vyadhi Sangaraha Drishyante. Krichatamaha Vyadhi Sangaraha Drishyante. Nrunam. We meet with Drishyante. It happens to have Krichatamaha Vyadhi Sangaraha. Krichatamaha. Krichram, Krichataram, Krichatamam. So, Krichatamam indicates something of the highest order. So, Vyadhi Sangaraha, Krichatamaha. Vyadhi Sangaras of the highest order we meet with or come across. Evam. That way, Vyadhi Sankaraha. Sankiryade iti Sankaraha. Sankiryade, blending, confounding, or perplexing, or complex. All these are the shades of meaning for this Sankaraha. So, Vyadhi Sankaraha means indicates the complex combinations of vikaras, vyadhis. Blend of types of vikaras. So, the evam krichratamaha nrunam drishyante vyadhi sankaraha. How? Then only we can consider the possibilities of avoiding it. Or what are the reasons for these sort of situations? That is the second line of that sloka. Prayoga parishuddhatvad tadha cha anyonya sambhavad. So, two reasons are given. Number one, prayoga parishuddhatvad. Prayoga aparishuddhatvad. That should be an eye opener for all the Vaidya, entire Vaidya community. Prayoga aparishuddhatvad. Aparishuddham. When the prayoga is aparishuddha, that can lead to the manifestation of very complex vyadhi sangaras of the highest order. Krichra tamaha. So what is prayogam here? Prayogam means chikitsa. Here, prayogam means chikitsa. So, when the chikitsa is aparishuddham, that is the first and foremost reason. It's not a chance, but prayoga aparishuddhatvad is the first reason given. Prayoga aparishuddhatvad. So, when the chikitsa is aparishuddham, there are chances of complex vyadhi sangaras. And what is then the parishuddhi? That is the next question. You are talking about aparishuddha chikitsa. So what this is? That is a jitnasa for any student. The constant requirement to move forward is jitnasa. When you listen to one sentence or one line, that should be igniting more jitnasa to know more. So here we say that prayoga aparishuddhatvad. Immediately there is a question, what is the parishuddhi as far as the chikitsa is concerned? What do you mean? So aparishuddhi is something which is having no parishuddhi is known as aparishuddhi, or which is not shuddham is known as ashuddham. And here, this is the situation where the sankalpa of Shuddha Ashuddha Chikitsa is introduced by Acharya Charaka. The concept of Shuddha Ashuddha Chikitsa, what is that? Prayogaha shamayed vyadhim egam yonyam udirayed nasau vishuddhaha. So the negative notion is explained first. First I will tell what is avishuddha chikitsa, aparishuddha chikitsa or ashuddha chikitsa. Then automatically you will understand what shuddha chikitsa is. So prayogaha shamayed vyadhim egam yo anyam udirayed nasau vishuddhaha. Yaha egam vyadhim shamayed anyam vyadhim udirayed cha. Asau prayogaha na vishuddhaha. Vishuddhaha na. Prayogaha. If an intervention of any type, let it be Shamana Chikitsa, Shodhana Chikitsa, Shastra Karmam, or whatever it is, if an intervention of any sort Shamayed, pacifies or mitigates one Vyadhi, meantime it triggers another one in that act, then such an intervention cannot be considered as Shuddha, or that should be considered as Aparishuddha. That is what we mean by an Aparishuddha Chikitsa. That is Aparishuddha Chikitsa. Then what is Shuddha? It is self-revealing. Shuddhastu shamayed na kopayed. Shuddha tu shamayed. It will mitigate the condition, will bring roga shamanam, the intended roga shamanam, and na kopayed. It will not initiate, it will not cause the initiation of another samprapti, another Rogotpatti. Then such a chikitsa, such an intervention can be considered as Shuddhaha. That is called Shuddhaha. So, Prayogaha Shamayed Vyadhimegam. Yo Anyam Udirayed Nasau Vishuddhaha. Shuddhastu Shamayed Yo Na Kopayed. Yaha Na Kopayed. So here we find the entire chikitsa is divided into Shuddha and Ashuddha. This is an idealistic statement, no doubt. Never think that all the chikitsas would be Ashuddha or all the chikitsas can be Shuddha. But there should be a norm. We should set a standard first. Then only there is the question of departing from it comes into discussion. So here, ideally, the chikitsa is divided into two, and all the explanations why such a division is relevant, because jayande krichnatamaha vyadhisangaraha prayoga vishuddhatvad. So this is very important. So I think we should look into some of the finer aspects of this division. And we saw that the avishuddha chikitsa or aparishuddha chikitsa is the cause for krichratama vyadhi sangaras. Prayoga aparishuddhatvad tadhacha anyonya sambhavad. So anyonya sambhavatvam is also a cause for vyadhi sangaram. Anyonya sankaratvam. Anyonya sankaratvam. So we should be discussing all about all these things. What is anyonya sambhavam? Anyonya sambhavam means certain diseases by default, prakriti, are of the nature that they cause another disease, and vice versa. The other one can cause this one. Anyonya sambhavam. By default, certain diseases may behave like this. So sometimes it can be because of the ashuddha chikitsa. Sometimes, some other times, it can be the nature of the samprapti, which initiates or which causes the vyadhi sangaram. And we have to come back to the avishuddha chikitsa because this is an important notion in our times. Everybody might have gone through sometimes or the other a report published in recent times, maybe in the last 5-6 years time, that medicine is the third biggest cause of death. It is not a speculation, it is a peer-reviewed publication. In most of the countries where data is available, medicine is the third highest cause of death. So when that is the reality of our times, we should be more keen about this Vishuddha Chikitsa and Avishuddha Chikitsa. And what are the multiple reflections that this concept can have in our day-to-day practice. That is very important. So, Avishuddha Chikitsa need not be just about doing some Avishuddha Chikitsa. It can also be about doing wrong Chikitsa. It can also be about doing wrong Chikitsa. For all practical purposes, Chikitsa which will not bring about Shamanam of one Vyadhi itself. Forget about Shamayed Vyadhim Yanya Udirayed. So in that case, at least there is an advantage that the one Vyadhi has brought down to Shamanavastha, but unfortunately a new one was triggered up. So sometimes the Chikitsa need not address the first Vyadhi itself, for which the Chikitsa was primarily intended. still Anyamudirayed, triggering up of a different vyadhi can happen. So that should be a wrong chikitsa, not just about avishuddha chikitsa or aparishuddha chikitsa. So for all practical purposes, that also should be coming under that ashuddha chikitsa. And more importantly, from an Ayurvedic perspective, not advising and encouraging the Adura to follow the path of Shuddha Chikitsa. Vaidya has got the responsibility to encourage the Rogi to follow the path of total Roga Shamanam, the path of Shuddha Chikitsa. He is bound to follow that path. And Vaidya should be the co-traveler in that journey. So if that ethical or moral responsibility is not met with, not fulfilled, then that chikitsa also should be considered as ashuddha chikitsa. I have to explain this concept a little bit more, because this is also an important concept that should be founded in the minds of the developing, the Vaidya's information from the very beginning itself, not on a later time. We have many examples for all these happenings. Say in Jara Chikitsa, we find Payayed dosha haranam mohad amajvaretu yaha prasuptam krishna sarpam sa karagrena paramrshed. Upama is excellent. Prasuptam krishna sarpam saha karagrena paramrshed. He is trying to touch and to wake up a sleeping Krishna Sarpa, maybe a king cobra. A king cobra is sleeping and you are going to touch and wake up the king cobra. Which is the situation? Amajvare yaha doshaharanam payed. Why? Mohad, Ajnanad. Without a proper understanding of the clinical situation, the Vyadhyavastha, if a Vaidya tries to give Shodhana Chikitsa in an Amajvara, it is compared with a situation where somebody is touching and waking up a sleeping king cobra, which is going to create, so that waking up of that king cobra is something like Krichratama Vyadhi Sangara, and sometimes even death. So this is an excellent example, and that Upama is also amazing or extraordinarily beautiful. There are many situations like this. In Jwara, Tatrul Krishte, Samutklishte, Kabhapraye, Chale Male, Sahrilla, Saprasega, Anyadvesha, Kasa Vishujike, Sadyo Bhuktasya Sanjade, Jware, Same, Visheshataha, Vamanam, Vamanarhasya Shastam. So then, in Amajvara, we are doing Vamanam. So it looks contradictory. But there is one particular clause. What is that? Vamanam Vamanarhasya Shastam. Vamanarhasya Shastam. Kuryat tad anyadha. Otherwise, if this particular qualification is not met with, what is going to happen? Tad anyadha kuryad. It will trigger up many other diseases. What are they? Swasa, Adisara, Sammoha, Hridroga, Vishamajvaran. Then Krichratama Vyadhi Sangaram is initiated. mohad, ajnanad. So that is a ashuddha chikitsa. That is an ashuddha chikitsa. Tadanyadha kuryad shwasa adisara sammoha hridroga vishamajvaran. When vamanam is done in a vamana anarha jwarita. This is all about wrong chikitsa. It is not going to bring any relief for the jwaram. So there is no samaya vyadhi vegam. Instead, it is going to trigger up many other diseases and krichratama vyadhi sangaram. And we can find many other similar clinical situations. Sometimes, especially in a clinical situations like the management of kushta, sometimes out of various compulsions, the Vaidya will be applying some bahya bahiparimarjana chikitsa. And this may temporarily pacify the presentation of kushta, but will initiate some vikaras in the pranavaha srotas, especially shwasa. So then, samayag vyadhimegam yonyam dhirayed, that is also an ashuddha chikitsa. This is a very commonly happening thing. That is why Acharya makes it a point to highlight that iti doshe vijite andaha. Iti doshe vijite andaha tuksthe shamanam bahipralebadihitam. In Kushta, we find such a disclaimer for bahiparimarjana chikitsa. Iti doshe vijite andaha. Only when the doshas are taken under control, andaha, internally, and still some presentations remain in the tvak level, tvaksthe shamanam bahipralepadi hidam. Otherwise, again, krichratama vyadhi sangara is a possibility. Then, not encouraging the rogi to follow Shuddha Chikitsa, that also I mentioned earlier. This is also a cause for Vyadhi Sangara. Here we should discuss something about the Karana of Vikaras, Rogas, which we have learned in Padartha Vijnanam earlier. Samavayi Karanam, Asamavayi Karanam, and Nimitta Karanam. As far as a roga is concerned, samavayi karanas are doshas. And asamavayi karanam is dosha vaishamyam. And nimitta karanam kalartha karmanam yogo hina mithyadi matrakaha. Kalartha karmanam hina mithyadi matrakaha yogaha. That is the nimitta karanam of roga. So, for karyanasham means to distract or destroy the karya. Here it is the vyadhi. So, kill the disease. Dosha vaishamyam should go. That means asamavayi karanam should be reversed. Yogastu dosha vaishamyam dosha samyam arogada. So, dosha vaishamyam is the asamavayi karanam of roga, and the general rule is asamavayi karananashe karyanashaha. That is the general rule in the case of any karya. Asamavayi karananashe karyanashaha. It is a general rule. So, if you have to control one vikara, one vyadhi, you have to break the dosha vaishamyam. Actually, that status of dosha vaishamyam in a particular vikara is known as the samprapti. And then only if the dosha vaishamya, asamavayi karana is reversed, there is possibility of karyanasha. That means roga shamanam. Swasthanasthasya samata vikara asambhavaha shamaha. That is how shamanam, dosha shamanam, roga shamanam all are explained. And when dosha vaishamyam is attended, we are attending the very samprapti vikhadanameva chikitsa. But what about nimitta karanam? Removal of nimitta karanam is not supposed to be indispensable as far as karyanasham is concerned in general. And removal of the nimitta karanam is not supposed to make any remarkable change in the status of karyam, which is a general rule. A potter's wheel. Potter's wheel is a nimitta karanam for a pot, the karyam. And once the pot is made, the wheel is not essential for its existence. You can withdraw the wheel. The pot will exist, will continue to exist. And similarly, you can demolish the wheel, doesn't matter. Still the pot will survive. And in a reverse equation, if you have to break the pot into pieces, it is not essential that you should break the wheel into pieces. This is a general rule. Nimitta karana, once the karya is generated, nimitta karana has very limited role. But coming to chikitsa in Ayurveda, this is not the case. The karyam, that is the roga, and the asamavayi karana, that is the dosha vaishamya, is enjoying support from the nimitta karana continuously. This is a very important situation. And as long as this support continues to exist, it is impossible to bring about karyanasha. Karyanasha means roga shamanam. So in short, against the concept of the general darshanas and everything, in Ayurveda, the karya perishes definitely when asamavayi karana is destroyed, and this asamavayi karana can be destroyed when the nimitta karana is withdrawn. That is, when the rogi is redirected to the samyak yoga of kala, artha and karma. Otherwise, it is impossible. If this is not followed, even if the Vaidya succeeds to break the samprapti of a particular roga, dosha vaishamya will not be reversed, because the nimitta karanas are continuing to support the dosha vaishamya. And hence, another samprapti may be initiated, sometimes in the same roga marga, some other times in a different roga marga. And so, the whole vyavara, the whole interventions are going to end up in an ashuddha chikitsa. So this is the reason why this concept is reflected in different ways, in different contexts, by different authors. In Sushrutam Uttaratantram, we will find Sankshepata Kriyayogo Nidana Parivarjanam. The result, the outcome of the chikitsa, that is in short, a successful outcome of a chikitsa is in short, Nidana Parivarjanam. Only when Nidana Parivarjanam is done, then only you can expect to have a positive outcome for your chikitsa. Sankshepataha Kriyayogaha Nidana Parivarjanam. In a more debating background, we can see Acharya Charaka explaining this concept. What is that? Jayande hedu vaishamyad vishamaha dehadhatavah. Jayande hedu vaishamyad vishamaha dehadhatavah. Hedu samyad samaha. Hedu samyad samaha. When there is hedu samyam, there is dhatu samyam. When there is hedu vaishamyam, there is dhatu vaishamyam. So what should the Vaidya do? And where should his thrust of intervention should be? Tyagad vishamahedunam samanam cha upasevanad vishamaha na anubadhanandi. Vishamaha dehadhatavaha na anubadhanandi. They do not continue to exist. Na anubadhanandi. How? Vishamahedunam tyagad. That is withdrawal of nimitta karanas. And samanam cha upasevanad. Samanam hedunam upasevanad. Kalartha karmanam samyak yogaha. Jayande dhadavaha samaha. Deha dhadavaha samaha jayande. That is reversal of the samprapti. And this is the importance of insisting on pathya nirdesha and encouraging the adura to follow it. That should be an emphasizing concept of Shuddha Chikitsa. And that is why we have a very famous saying that Vinabi Bheshajair Vyadhihi Pathyadeva Nivartade Eva Pathyadeva Nivartade Natu Pathya Vihinasya Bheshajanam Shataihi Api Bheshajaihi Pathya Vihinasya Vyadhi Na Nivartade. This is a core concept. So this prompts the Vaidya or Vaidyaka, that means the Vaidya information, to peep into all the factors which are playing behind the Roga Samprapti. Nothing is less important. And we should develop some sort of a samyak drishti to see everything together in a holistic platform. Then only Ayurveda Chikitsa is becoming Ayurveda Chikitsa. Chikitsa will become Shuddha Chikitsa. But that doesn't mean that, of course, there are exceptions. When we set a rule, there will be a space for exceptions as well, which we will come to later. Exceptions. So now, I think there is one question popping up. If it is relevant to this discussion, we will answer it here. So then we should not consider Samavayi Karana in Chikitsa, only Asamavayi Karana and the Nimitta Karana. Correct. Samavayi Karana is considered to identify which is the dosha. Samavayi Karanam for a Roga is dosha. And you cannot distract dosha. What you are trying to reverse or distract is dosha vaishamya, not dosha. But to identify the situation which is the dosha involved, you have to look for lakshana and karma of doshas. So we are focusing on the Samavayi Karana. That is just for the sake of identification, and don't jump into the decision that I am going to distract the Samavayi Karana. That means the doshas. I hope it is clear. So with that, we conclude today's session. We will continue to travel together into the deeper aspects of all these ideas in our next coming sessions. So here we conclude. Thank you very much. We will meet again on Wednesday morning. So, Bhishajam Sadhu Vrittanam Bhadram Agamashalinam Abhyasta Karmanam Bhadram Bhadrabhilashinam. Thank you very much.